The Galactic Federation's flagship emerged from hyperspace in a burst of crystalline light, its massive form casting a shadow across the face of Earth's moon. Behind it, 37 warships arranged themselves in perfect attack formation, their sleek hulls gleaming with the confident swagger of a civilization that had conquered 1,000 worlds. Commander Sarah Chen watched the display from her underground office, 3 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean. Her dark eyes reflected the holographic readouts as she took another sip of green tea, maintaining the same calm she'd shown through 15 years of preparing for this moment. Around her, the command center maintained absolute silence, broken only by the soft hum of quantum computers and the gentle splashing of her koi pond. A touch of serenity in humanity's most advanced military installation. "They're right on schedule," she murmured, more to herself than to her staff. The Federation's arrival matched their behavioral patterns perfectly, exactly as predicted by the Quantum Psychology Division's algorithms. 15 years of studying their species through seemingly innocent scientific missions had revealed their cultural blind spots with mathematical precision. The main screen flickered as the Federation's transmission cut through Earth's primitive communications networks. Admiral Zixtal, a towering figure of crystalline symmetry, appeared with the practiced gravitas of someone used to cowing lesser species into submission. "People of Earth," the alien's voice resonated through the chamber, automatically translated by systems far more sophisticated than the Federation suspected Earth possessed. "Your isolation ends today. The Galactic Federation has determined your world holds resources vital to galactic stability. Submit to our authority, and you will be granted Class 3 Protectorate status. Resist, and we will be forced to demonstrate the futility of your primitive defenses." Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Federation's scans would show exactly what humanity had wanted them to see: a handful of fission-powered satellites, a small lunar base, and a military barely capable of reaching orbit. The perfect image of a young species ripe for protection. Signal from the UN Security Council. "Commander," Lieutenant Park announced from his station. "They're ready to proceed with Protocol Omega." Chen nodded, setting down her teacup with deliberate care. "Initiate Phase 1. Let's show them why humans spend so much time watching nature documentaries." Across Earth's surface, seemingly innocent weather satellites began shifting their orbits by microdegrees. Civilian communications relays adjusted their transmission patterns in ways too subtle for even the Federation's advanced sensors to detect as intentional. Within the asteroid belt, what appeared to be routine mining operations continued their work with mechanical predictability. Admiral Zixtal's image frowned as Earth's response came not from its military or political leaders, but from a middle-aged Asian woman sitting in what appeared to be a modest office. "This is Commander Chen of the Earth Defense Initiative. We've been expecting you." The Admiral's crystalline form flickered with what his species considered amusement. "You've been expecting us? Your species hasn't even achieved reliable fusion power. Your artificial intelligence is limited to simple pattern recognition. You still lose significant portions of your population to natural disasters. Tell me, Admiral." Chen's voice remained conversational, almost friendly. "Have you ever watched a spider build its web? It's fascinating how such a small creature can create such an effective trap through simple, predictable actions. Humanity has spent most of its history studying predator-prey relationships. We've learned some interesting lessons." Warning signals flashed across the Federation flagship's bridge as their quantum sensors detected anomalies they couldn't quite identify. Something about Earth's orbital debris field wasn't behaving according to standard gravitational models. "Your attempts at psychological warfare are noted, Commander, but futile. Our scans show your total military spending is barely sufficient to maintain a planetary defense force. You have no significant space-based weapons platforms." Chen's smile widened fractionally. "Admiral, did you ever wonder why humans are so obsessed with watching predators hunt? Why we spend billions studying the hunting patterns of everything from insects to deep-sea creatures? We've always found it fascinating how the most successful predators are often the ones that appear harmless until it's too late." The Federation's tactical officer reported growing confusion as their sensors struggled to maintain coherent readings of Earth's orbital space. Patterns that had seemed random moments ago were beginning to show troubling correlations. "Your species profile indicates a tendency toward bluffing," Zixtal stated, but there was a new tension in his voice. "Your technological level is well documented." "Yes, it is," Chen agreed pleasantly. "Tell me, how did you document it?" "By monitoring our communications, analyzing our energy signatures, studying our visible infrastructure." "Admiral, have you ever watched a peacock mantis shrimp? They're remarkable creatures. They can see 12 different color channels, while humans can only see 3. Yet somehow, humanity managed to develop complete models of light and color despite our limited perception. It made us wonder, what else might we understand despite our apparent limitations?" Throughout the Federation fleet, sensor officers were beginning to report cascading anomalies. Earth's magnetic field was showing impossible fluctuations. Quantum entanglement signatures were appearing and disappearing faster than their systems could track. The orbital debris field was moving in ways that violated basic physics, unless those violations were exactly the point. "What are you doing?" Zixtal demanded, his crystalline form vibrating with the first edges of concern. "Nothing, Admiral. We're simply letting you see what was always there. Humanity's greatest talent isn't our technology. It's our ability to recognize patterns. For 15 years, we've been watching you watch us. Every time you scanned our world, we learned more about your sensors than you learned about us. Every probe you sent taught us more about your technology than it told you about ours. Like that spider, we've been building something one strand at a time, so slowly and naturally that you never noticed the web taking shape." The Federation's tactical networks erupted with alerts as their ships began detecting quantum entanglement signatures throughout the solar system. Signatures that formed patterns matching Earth's supposedly primitive satellite network. What they had dismissed as an inefficient communication system suddenly revealed itself as something far more sophisticated. "Impossible," Zixtal whispered. "Your species profile was exactly what we wanted it to be." Chen finished for him. "You see, Admiral, humanity's greatest advantage isn't our technology or our resources. It's our patience, our ability to study, to learn, to recognize patterns, and to use that knowledge to survive against superior predators. For 15 years, we've been showing you exactly what you expected to see, a young species stumbling toward the stars. But like that peacock mantis shrimp, we've been perceiving and understanding far more than you imagined possible." Throughout the solar system, what had appeared to be routine mining operations, weather satellites, and pieces of space debris began moving with deliberate purpose. The web that humanity had spent 15 years weaving with infinite patience suddenly pulled tight. "This is your only warning, Admiral," Chen said, her voice still carrying that same conversational tone. "Your ships are currently surrounded by a quantum entanglement field that we've spent 15 years building. Every piece of debris you ignored is a node in that network. Every primitive satellite is a control point. You came here expecting to find easy prey, but you've walked into a trap that was 15 years in the making. Like that spider, we've been very, very patient." As if to emphasize her point, the Federation fleet's quantum sensors suddenly detected the true nature of Earth's orbital defense system, not the crude satellites they had observed, but a vast network of interconnected quantum nodes, each one perfectly positioned through years of seemingly random adjustments. Their ships weren't just surrounded. They were already entangled in humanity's web. "The choice is yours, Admiral," Chen concluded, lifting her teacup for another sip. "You can leave now, and we can begin diplomatic relations as equals. Or you can test our defenses and discover exactly how much humanity has learned from studying the galaxy's most effective predators. I would recommend the former, but like all good hosts, we're prepared for either choice." The silence that followed was broken only by the gentle splashing of koi in Commander Chen's pond, a sound that now seemed far more ominous than peaceful. In the space between stars, the Federation fleet hung motionless, trapped in a web they never saw being woven, faced with the dawning realization that they had completely misunderstood what it meant to be primitive. Admiral Zixtel's crystalline form pulsed with barely contained rage as he faced the Federation Security Council. Through quantum-linked displays, representatives of 300 spacefaring civilizations watched Earth's primitive defense grid systematically dismantle their most advanced sensor systems. Impossible! The Arcturian delegates' tentacles writhed in distress. Their technology level was verified by 17 independent survey teams. They still use chemical rockets. In her underground command center, Commander Chen watched the Federation's secure transmissions with quiet satisfaction. Every burst of encrypted data told her team more about the Federation's communication protocols. Lieutenant Park's fingers danced across his quantum interface as he correlated the new data. "They're deploying their secondary fleet, Commander," he reported. 300 ships dropping out of hyperspace in the Kuiper Belt. Chen nodded, her expression serene. "Right on schedule. Activate the Kuiper array." Throughout the distant reaches of the solar system, what the Federation had dismissed as simple automated mining operations revealed their true nature. Each mining drone was actually a node in humanity's vast observation network, positioned through decades of seemingly random resource exploration missions. "Secondary fleet has dropped out of hyperspace," Park announced. Commander, they're completely blind. The Kuiper array is feeding them false sensor data." On her private display, Chen watched the Federation's mighty Armada maneuver according to sensor data that had been crafted by Earth's quantum computers. Each ship responded exactly as the psychological models had predicted. Like a school of fish following a false current, the fleet moved perfectly into position. "Tell me, Admiral," Chen's voice carried across the quantum link to Zixtel's flagship, "have you ever wondered why humans are so fascinated by optical illusions? Why we spend so much time studying how our own brains can be fooled by patterns?" The Admiral's crystalline structure vibrated with frequencies that human research had identified as indicating profound unease. "What have you done to our sensors?" "Nothing, Admiral. We're simply showing your ships what they expect to see. It's remarkable how predictable advanced technology becomes when you understand the psychology of the species that created it." Throughout the solar system, Federation ships responded to sensor data that seemed completely logical, entirely consistent with their understanding of physics and space warfare. Not one of their sensor officers noticed that their fleet was being choreographed like dancers following an invisible conductor's lead. "Signal from the Kuiper array," Park reported, allowing himself a small smile. "The secondary fleet is now in optimal position. All quantum entanglement fields are ready." Chen lifted her teacup, inhaling the fragrant steam. "You know, Admiral, one of humanity's earliest military advantages was our ability to track prey by understanding patterns. We called it persistence hunting. Long before we had advanced weapons, we could exhaust larger, stronger animals simply by following them until they couldn't run anymore." Warning signals flashed across Federation command networks as their ships began detecting quantum anomalies throughout the Kuiper Belt. What they had thought was empty space was suddenly alive with energy signatures that their sensors insisted couldn't possibly exist. "For the past 20 years, Chen continued, her voice taking on an almost educational tone, "every probe we sent to the outer solar system was labeled as a simple scientific mission. Your analysts noted how many of them failed, how many returned corrupted data. Did you ever wonder if those failures were actually successes we didn't want you to notice?" The Federation's tactical networks erupted with alerts as their secondary fleet discovered the true purpose of humanity's failed missions. Each corrupted data transmission had been carefully crafted to conceal the deployment of quantum entanglement nodes throughout the Kuiper Belt. The mining operations hadn't been extracting resources. They had been weaving a net of unimaginable complexity. "Commander," Park's voice carried a note of professional satisfaction, "the Kuiper array is fully activated. All Federation ships are within the quantum field." Chen set down her teacup with deliberate precision. "Admiral, Your reinforcements are currently trapped in a quantum entanglement field that extends throughout the Kuiper Belt. Each node in that network was positioned by what you thought were failed scientific missions. Those corrupted data transmissions you detected, they were actually quantum encryption keys, hidden in what appeared to be random noise. The Federation's most advanced quantum computers struggled to make sense of what their sensors were detecting. The patterns were impossible, yet undeniable. Humanity hadn't just prepared for this confrontation. They had spent decades setting the stage with infinite patience. What you're seeing now, Chen explained, as if teaching a particularly interesting lesson, is the result of humanity's greatest strength, our ability to learn from failure. Every failed mission taught us more about how to hide our successes. Every corrupted transmission helped us perfect our quantum encryption. We didn't need advanced technology to understand how your sensors worked. We just needed patience and the ability to recognize patterns. Throughout the Kuiper Belt, Federation ships found themselves wrapped in a web of quantum entanglement that their most advanced systems couldn't have detected until it was activated. Each node had been positioned with mathematical precision, hidden behind a veil of apparent incompetence and scientific curiosity. Your species profile. Zixtol's voice carried the first hints of genuine fear. It showed a pattern of technological development consistent with a pre-quantum civilization. Yes, Chen agreed pleasantly. That profile showed exactly what we wanted it to show. Humanity's greatest deception wasn't hiding our technology, Admiral. It was hiding our understanding. Like those prehistoric hunters, we didn't need superior weapons to trap our prey. We just needed to understand how it would move. The Federation Security Council watched in stunned silence as humanity's true capabilities revealed themselves. What they had dismissed as a primitive species fumbling toward the stars had actually been orchestrating one of the most sophisticated military operations in galactic history. The choice remains yours, Admiral. Chen concluded, her dark eyes reflecting the holographic displays that showed both Federation fleets caught in humanity's invisible net. But before you make it, I suggest you consider this. Everything you've seen so far was accomplished by a species you thought couldn't handle quantum mechanics. Imagine what we might be capable of when we stop pretending. In the vast silence of space, the Federation's mighty armada hung motionless, trapped in a web of quantum energy that they never saw being woven, faced with the dawning realization that they had catastrophically underestimated humanity's capacity for strategic deception. The hunters had become the hunted, and they never saw it coming. The Federation Security Council's emergency session dissolved into chaos as their most advanced strategic AI systems began producing increasingly disturbing analyses. What had seemed like a simple resource acquisition mission had transformed into a military catastrophe of unprecedented scale. Their quantum entanglement fields are impossible. The Zentheri Science Director's mechanical voice trembled with uncertainty. The energy requirements alone would drain a star system. Commander Chen's voice cut through their secure channel once again, as calm as if she were discussing the weather. Have you ever watched a beaver build a dam, Council members? It's fascinating how such a small creature can redirect an entire river by carefully positioning simple materials. In her command center, Chen gestured to a new holographic display. Lieutenant Park and his team had been busy during the Council's deliberations, using their quantum sensors to map the true extent of Federation space near Earth. You're thinking about power requirements in terms of brute force, Chen continued. That's understandable. It's how most species approach the problem. But humanity learned long ago that the most efficient way to control massive forces isn't always through raw power. Throughout the solar system, Federation sensors detected new patterns emerging in what they had dismissed as background radiation. Each pattern seemed to pulse in perfect synchronization with Earth's quantum network, creating resonance cascades that amplified the entanglement fields exponentially. We call it sympathetic resonance, Chen explained, her tone professorial. It's how a skilled singer can shatter a wine glass with just their voice, or how a well-designed bridge can collapse from wind vibrations. The quantum entanglement fields trapping your ships aren't powered by massive energy sources. They're powered by the natural quantum fluctuations of space itself. The Zenthari science director's mechanical body produced sounds of distress as their sensors confirmed Chen's explanation. The humans hadn't built a power-hungry containment system. They had created a vast network of quantum resonators that used the fabric of space-time itself as an energy source. Station Theta is reporting full quantum synchronization, Commander Park announced. The Federation's attempts to map our network are providing exactly the data we need to refine our resonance patterns. Chen nodded, lifting her ever-present teacup. You see, Council members, while you were watching our primitive space program struggle with basic rocket science, we were studying something far more fundamental, the underlying patterns of reality itself. Every failed launch taught us more about gravitational fields. Every communications glitch helped us understand quantum entanglement. The Federation's tactical displays showed impossible data as Earth's quantum network began to pulse with new frequencies. What had seemed like a simple containment field was revealing itself to be something far more sophisticated. Your species barely understands quantum mechanics, the Arcturian delegate protested, but their tentacles writhed with increasing agitation. Your scientists still debate basic principles of quantum entanglement. Do they? Chen's smile was audible in her voice. Or do we simply allow those debates to be monitored? Tell me, how many of our quantum physics papers do your intelligence services intercept each year? And how many of those papers contain subtle mathematical errors that your analysts love to point out? Throughout Federation space, surveillance systems began detecting quantum resonance patterns that matched Earth's network. What had appeared to be contained to the solar system was suddenly revealing connections to seemingly random points of space thousands of light-years away. Commander, Park reported, his voice carrying professional pride. All Federation monitoring stations within 50 light-years are now synchronized with our network. Their attempts to analyze our quantum fields are creating perfect resonance points. Chen set down her teacup with deliberate care. For decades, we've been publishing papers with carefully crafted errors in quantum mathematics. Your analysts have been diligently finding those errors, confirming your belief in our primitive understanding. But each of those papers also contained hidden patterns, patterns that your quantum monitoring stations absorbed and replicated, thinking they were simply observing our failed attempts at quantum science. The Federation Security Council watched in horror as their own quantum monitoring network began pulsing in perfect synchronization with Earth's resonance fields. Each station had been unknowingly configured by years of studying humanity's apparently flawed research. Your entire quantum detection network, Chen explained, as if sharing a particularly interesting scientific discovery, has been slowly tuned to resonate with our quantum fields. Every time your analysts studied our primitive attempts at quantum physics, they were actually helping us calibrate your sensors to our exact specifications. Federation emergency protocols activated as their quantum monitoring stations began behaving in ways their designers had never imagined possible. Each station, designed to detect and analyze quantum phenomena, had become a node in humanity's vast resonance network. The art of war, Chen continued, her voice taking on an almost philosophical tone, isn't just about having the most powerful weapons. It's about understanding patterns, patterns of behavior, patterns of thought, patterns of assumption. We knew you would monitor our quantum physics research. We knew your analysts would eagerly document our apparent failures. And we knew that your monitoring stations would be calibrated to detect exactly what they found in our research. Throughout known space, Federation quantum sensors pulsed with frequencies that matched Earth's network perfectly. Each pulse strengthened the resonance. Each analysis by their systems refined the synchronization. They hadn't just walked into a trap. They had spent decades helping humanity build it. Your entire civilization, the Zenthari science director's mechanical voice shook with realization. Your apparently primitive struggles with quantum physics were exactly what we wanted you to see, Chen finished. Humanity's greatest advantage isn't our technology, Director. It's our understanding of patterns. including the patterns of how advanced civilizations think. We knew you would dismiss us as primitive. We knew you would eagerly document our failures. And we knew that your own quantum monitoring network would become our greatest asset. In the silence that followed, the Federation Council faced a terrifying reality. Every quantum sensor in their territory, every monitoring station designed to detect advanced technology, had been transformed into an amplifier for Earth's resonance network. The very systems they had used to dismiss humanity as primitive were now the backbone of humanity's defense. The choice remained yours, Chen concluded, her dark eyes reflecting the holographic displays that showed the Federation's quantum network pulsing in perfect harmony with Earth's defenses. But remember, everything you've seen so far was accomplished by carefully exploiting your assumptions about us. Imagine what we might achieve if we decided to stop playing primitive. Throughout known space, the Federation's quantum monitoring network continued its perfect resonance with Earth's defense grid, each pulse a reminder that they had spent decades helping humanity prepare for this moment, never realizing that their careful observation of a primitive species had been orchestrated from the very beginning. The Federation's emergency command center erupted in alarms as their quantum resonance network detected a new pattern emerging from Earth's orbital space. The International Space Station, long dismissed as a primitive habitat barely capable of sustaining life, began to pulse with energy signatures that defied conventional physics. Fascinating, isn't it? Commander Chen's voice carried across quantum channels as she watched the Federation's sensors struggle to comprehend what they were detecting. Humans have always had a particular talent for hiding things in plain sight, like a magician who shows you exactly what they're doing, knowing you'll still miss the real trick. The ISS's seemingly crude solar panels shifted with liquid grace, revealing quantum resonators that had been disguised as simple power collection systems. Each panel aligned with precise mathematical harmony, creating new nodes in humanity's ever-expanding network. Station Beta reports full synchronization. Commander, Lieutenant Park announced. The Federation's attempts to analyze the ISS are providing the final calibration data we need. Chen nodded, her reflection in the command center's displays showing the same serene expression she'd maintained throughout the confrontation. You know, Council members, humans have a long history of using obvious weaknesses to hide genuine strengths. Medieval castles often had visible weaknesses that were actually clever traps for overconfident attackers. The Federation's tactical AI systems began producing increasingly frantic analyses as they detected quantum signatures emanating from every human space installation. Each seemingly primitive structure revealed layers of sophistication that had been perfectly concealed behind a facade of technological simplicity. Your orbital habitat can barely maintain atmospheric pressure, the Zenthari science director protested, their mechanical form vibrating with distress. Our scans show constant repairs, systems failures. Yes, Chen agreed pleasantly. That's exactly what our maintenance logs showed. Tell me, Director, did your analysts ever wonder why a species capable of splitting the atom would design a space station that required such constant attention? Did they ever question why we would maintain such an apparently inefficient system? Throughout Earth's orbit, every human space installation began resonating with the quantum network. Solar panels that had seemed barely adequate for basic power needs revealed themselves as nodes in a vast quantum computation array. Life support systems that appeared to struggle with basic functions showed their true nature as sophisticated quantum field generators. Commander, Park reported, his voice carrying a note of triumph. All Federation analysis systems are now fully integrated with our network. Their attempts to understand our technology are providing exactly the computational power we needed. Chen lifted her teacup, inhaling the steam thoughtfully. The International Space Station wasn't just humanity's first permanent presence in space, Council members. It was our first lesson in strategic deception on a cosmic scale. Every repair mission, every system failure, every apparent struggle with basic technology, they were all carefully choreographed performances. The Federation's most advanced quantum computers, tasked with analyzing Earth's suddenly revealed technology, found themselves becoming part of humanity's network. Each attempt to understand the impossible energy signatures only strengthened the connection. Your entire species profile, Admiral Zixtel's crystalline form pulsed with frequencies indicating deep distress. Every technological assessment was based on exactly what we showed you. Chen finished. While you were documenting our struggles with basic space survival, we were using your own monitoring systems to build something far more sophisticated. Every time you scanned our primitive space station, your quantum sensors were being calibrated to our specifications. Every analysis of our apparent weaknesses helped us refine our quantum resonance patterns. Throughout Federation space, their quantum computation networks began producing results that their designers had never imagined possible. The very systems they used to analyze potential threats had become extensions of humanity's quantum defense grid. Full network integration achieved, Commander Park announced. The Federation's quantum computers are now synchronized with our systems at a fundamental level. Their entire defense network is operating as part of our quantum array. Chen set down her teacup with characteristic precision. You see, Council members, humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our understanding of perception itself. We knew you would see what you expected to see, a primitive species struggling with basic space survival. We knew your analysts would eagerly document every failure, every repair, every apparent limitation. And we knew that your own quantum computers would be programmed to analyze our technology in exactly the ways we needed. The Federation Security Council watched in stunned silence as their most advanced defense systems were transformed into components of Earth's quantum network. Each analysis, each scan, each attempt to understand humanity's apparent limitations had only served to strengthen the very system they were trying to comprehend. Your primitive space station, the Arcturian delegate's tentacles writhed in dawning comprehension. All those repairs, those system failures, were performances worthy of humanity's greatest actors, Chen confirmed. Every spacewalk to fix a broken solar panel was actually an adjustment to our quantum resonators. Every emergency repair was a calibration of our field generators. We knew you would watch every moment, document every detail. And we knew that your quantum computers would be programmed to analyze exactly what we wanted them to see. Throughout known space, the Federation's quantum defense network continued its perfect synchronization with Earth's systems. What had seemed like a primitive species barely capable of maintaining orbital habitats had orchestrated one of the most sophisticated technological deceptions in galactic history. The choice remains yours, Chen concluded, her dark eyes reflecting the holographic displays that showed the Federation's entire defense network operating as part of humanity's quantum grid. But consider this. Everything you've seen was accomplished while maintaining a perfect illusion of technological incompetence. Imagine what humanity might achieve now that we no longer need to maintain that illusion. In the vast silence of space, the Federation's mighty armada hung motionless, their most advanced systems now irrevocably linked to humanity's quantum network, faced with the dawning realization that they had spent decades documenting an elaborate performance, never suspecting that their own technology was being transformed into humanity's greatest defense. The Federation Security Council chamber had fallen into an unprecedented silence. The combined quantum defense networks of 300 civilizations now pulsed in perfect harmony with Earth's resonance grid, each attempt to regain control only strengthening the connection. You know, Commander Chen's voice carried the same conversational tone she'd maintained throughout the crisis. Humans have always been fascinated by the concept of emergence, how simple components can create complex systems that are greater than the sum of their parts, like how individual neurons create consciousness, or how simple rules can generate infinite complexity. In her underground command center, Shen studied the holographic displays showing the full extent of humanity's quantum network. Each point of light represented a node in a system that now spanned known space, built piece by piece through decades of careful preparation. Final synchronization complete, Commander, Lieutenant Park reported. The Federation's quantum defense network is fully integrated with our resonance grid. Their attempts to isolate their systems are actually completing the connections we designed. Chen nodded, lifting her teacup in what had become a familiar gesture. Tell me, council members, have you ever watched a human child play with building blocks? It's remarkable how they can create complex structures through simple, repetitive actions. Each block placed seems random until suddenly a pattern emerges. Throughout Federation space, their most sophisticated defense systems continued their unwitting participation in humanity's quantum network. What had seemed like primitive technology was revealing itself as something far more profound. A new form of quantum architecture that operated on principles their science had never considered. Impossible, the Zentheri science director's mechanical voice wavered. Your species barely understands quantum entanglement. Your scientists still argue about basic wave-particle duality. Do they? Chen's smile was audible. Or do we simply allow those arguments to be monitored? Consider this. What if humanity's apparently primitive understanding of quantum mechanics wasn't a limitation, but a different perspective entirely? What if our crude technology wasn't crude at all, but rather a fundamentally different approach to manipulating reality? The Federation's quantum computers struggled to analyze the emerging patterns as Earth's network revealed new layers of complexity. Each seemingly simple component was part of a vast mathematical harmony that their most advanced AI systems couldn't fully comprehend. You see, Chen continued, her voice taking on an almost contemplative tone. While your civilizations were mastering quantum mechanics through brute force computation and massive energy expenditure, humanity was learning to work with the natural patterns of reality itself. Like that child with building blocks, we discovered that the simplest actions, properly arranged, could create something far more sophisticated than any single complex system. Throughout known space, the Federation's quantum defense network continued its perfect resonance with Earth's grid. But now the pattern was changing, evolving into something new, something that neither humanity nor the Federation had created alone. "Commander," Park announced, his voice carrying a note of awe. "The merged network is generating new quantum signatures. The combined systems are creating patterns we never predicted." Chen set down her teacup, her dark eyes reflecting the emerging complexity displayed in the holographic field. "Fascinating, isn't it? When we first discovered this possibility, we realized something profound. The most sophisticated technology isn't always the most complex. Sometimes, true advancement comes from understanding the simple patterns that underlie reality itself." The Federation Security Council watched in stunned silence as their integrated defense network began operating in ways that transcended their understanding of physics. The combined quantum systems weren't just working together, they were creating new possibilities that neither civilization had imagined. Your entire species, Admiral Zixtel's crystalline form, pulsed with frequencies indicating deep revelation. Your apparent technological limitations were never limitations at all. Chen finished. They were a different path to the same destination. While you were building ever more powerful quantum computers, we were learning to sing in harmony with the quantum fabric of space itself. While you were forcing reality to bend to your will, we were learning to dance with its natural patterns. Throughout Federation space, the merged quantum networks continued their evolution. What had begun as a confrontation between civilizations was transforming into something unprecedented, a new form of quantum architecture that combined the Federation's sophisticated technology with humanity's fundamental understanding of pattern and resonance. "The choice before us now," Chen said, her voice carrying new warmth, "isn't about surrender or dominance. It's about recognition. Your civilization has mastered the brute force manipulation of quantum reality. Humanity has learned to work with its underlying patterns. Apart, we each had limitations. Together," she gestured to the displays showing the merged network's emerging complexity. "Together, we can create something entirely new." The Federation Council chamber erupted in a new kind of chaos as the implications became clear. The humans hadn't just defended themselves, they had revealed an entirely new approach to quantum physics, one that complemented and enhanced the Federation's own technology in ways they had never imagined possible. The future is yours to choose. Chen concluded, watching the merged quantum networks create patterns of impossible beauty across known space. You can retreat to your territories, maintain your current understanding of reality, and leave humanity to our own devices. Or you can join us in exploring what becomes possible when we combine your mastery of quantum mechanics with our understanding of its underlying patterns. After all, she smiled, lifting her teacup one final time. The most profound discoveries often come not from confrontation, but from harmony. In the vast expanse of space, the Federation's mighty armada hung motionless, their most advanced technology now part of something greater than they had ever imagined. They had come seeking to subjugate a primitive species, only to discover that humanity's apparent limitations were actually a window into a deeper understanding of reality itself. The hunters had become partners in discovery, and the galaxy would never be the same.